Alright, good evening everyone. This is the Select Board Water Commissioner meeting for Monday, January 27th, held here at the town office. Under new business, we need to sign and approve payroll warrant 2503, accounts payable warrants, excess weight permits for Dead River Company, doing business as Bourne's Energy, and Stewart Shop Corporation. We got the minutes of the January 13th regular meeting to sign, approve, town administrator's report, a municipal code of ethics compliance that we need to look at. Under old business, we need to finish up the 2025 municipal budget. The 2025 annual town meeting warning needs to be finalized, and the 2025 annual town report. And then we have a memorandum understanding regarding the school property. Is there anything else that we need to add to the agenda?
Yeah, I have one item that I had forgotten about. You approved the historic easement for the Historical Society building. As the final part of that is that they needed to, because there's an easement being given for 5 years, they had to document the baseline situation of that property now, so that in 5 years' time they'll be able to compare how well it's been conserved compared to where it started at. Anyway, so we need to approve the certification of that. So essentially, it's a piece of paper that needs to be signed saying what the state of the building is right now. And there's a big long report there, but I looked it over and didn't see anything wrong with it. But anyway, something that they'd like to approve, and I thought the board should do that.
Yep. Alright. Anything else? No, good. We'll start right off. Would you like to speak, Jane?
Sure, thanks. I'm Jane Monza, and I understand Kim Dufresne is retiring and there may be a town clerk vacancy. So I just came to express my interest in possibly helping with that role. And I understand it's a elected position that requires nomination, and if I am nominated and elected, I would be happy to help in that way, and or a select board vacancy, or I saw the justice of the peace email, and or I do the library trustee thing. So I'm most interested in the town clerk. It still works for me and my family with the school hours and my business on the weekends, and I could stay for the meeting if it's helpful, but I really just came to gauge community interest and express my interest. I understand there's an out-of-town resident who's interested, and if that's what makes sense, great. But if you need a Sheldon resident to be nominated, I would be honored to do that.
Do you have any specific questions for us or about the job or anything like that?
Very many, and I sat down with Kim for about 90 minutes and asked a lot of them.
Okay.
But also, I guess, just based on the town record and report, assuming the salary would be the same, I understand it's a 2-year term. But are those things subject to change? Three, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I have random logistical questions if it were to work out about how a town clerk, for example, takes a sick day. How does the town office operate?
You would hire assistant.
Yeah,
Okay.
by statute, the town clerk has to appoint an assistant town
Okay.
clerk. Yeah. Just for that sort of
Okay.
possibility. Yeah.
And Matt knows this about me, but I'm pretty technical. I'm also very open to paper records. So I'm happy to learn all the existing systems and help update them as that makes sense. Yeah. So that's all I came by to say.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I don't need to be on the formal agenda unless it's helpful.
No.
Okay.
No, we were wondering if somebody in town was gonna step forward. Here you are.
I would, and if there's any opposition or it doesn't make sense, I guess I would address that, but I think I'm qualified.
Okay.
And I think our current clerk, Kim, would be willing to stay on temporarily to to train.
She told me she'd
she's
help me.
expressed.
She said, I won't leave you hanging.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing like looking around and finding a lot of information that's out there for town clerks. And she said she straight called the lady from Fairfield for the first 2 weeks and was like, I don't know what to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I
Appreciate
get
it.
to see your dad on Wednesday. Dad and Ophelia.
Oh, boy.
Nice. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Alright, Raymond, what you got for good news for us?
I'm here to support that.
Yeah, so we had a, sort of, well, so I had talked with, Kim had asked me, about the fire truck that the town is acquiring this year, and if we made a plan for financing that yet, which, we had talked with this fire department about planning for that, but we hadn't actually, done that, so, I called Raymond, or well, I called Rick because he's obviously not here because he's sick, but and he suggested I ask Raymond, or he asked Raymond to come down here and discuss it with us just to go over what the town and fire department are planning to do about, and what to explain what the plan is for the financing of that fire truck. So, the only, and my concern was that if we were, just because the time when this truck is coming to us is approaching here, if there's a question of whether the town needed to have a bond, if we were planning on doing that over a certain amount of time, and what the circumstances were, if that was going to require a bond vote, then we would have to be doing that, rather swiftly to be moving in that direction. But anyway, I asked Raymond to come down here and explain what the plan is for that. So you want to take it away, Raymond? That'd be good.
So we're under contract for $585,000. That'll be due to the company that builds the truck, E1, on delivery of the truck. So what we did with the last one and what we had proposed doing is that this would be financed over 8 payments, equal payments, which equates to, with current interest rates since I got a call an hour ago, about $84,000, which is exactly the number that I presented to you guys 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. The company that we utilize most of the time to help people do financing, because of relationships that we've had for years, is called Tax Exempt Leasing Corporation, and all they do is municipal equipment. It's the only thing they do, and it's considered a lease. They write the lease so that there is no vote required of the people like you would require for a bond, we found out. So there is no requirement because it's not necessarily considered debt. The title is actually given to the town of Sheldon or the fire department, whoever gets the truck. The town would actually get a minutely lower interest rate due to it's a town. And they would get the title with a lien on it. And then you're just expected to each year through the budgetary process, just like we did this year, have the funds in there to make that payment. There's no balloon payments or anything at the end. The interest rate is a little bit more than a bond. I think we just said the bond rate is about 3.
Yeah, and my understanding is that this would be funded through the state's municipal equipment fund.
After there was a vote to allow.
Right, yeah, exactly, and that
a
would be
paper
about
ballot
3%.
vote.
My understanding, that would be a 3%.
This would be about 5.5%, which is where that 84 number that I had comes in. So it's in our budgetary number. The 30,000 that we moved into the equipment fund this year would be part of that payment, and I'm sure that the chief has told you, Rick has told you that engine 2, the old truck, is actually under contract for a fair amount of money. I mean, we did very well on that truck, and that and that equipment fund is going to be, right there making the first payment if you wanted to pay this year. Tax exempt does give you the option to defer the first payment for one whole year. That just pushes us out. The next people down the road may not be any of us. Pushes them out later on the next truck. To me, it makes sense to me. We will have the money between the ARPA funds, the fire station funds, the sale of this truck to make the first payment this year or at time of delivery. So there is a very reasonable, in my opinion, option on the table available. There's no penalty for early payment. So if we said, hey, we want to save the 2% interest, we could go ahead next year or whatever and ask for a vote. If it's worth it, 2% on it, we're talking about $10,000 difference or so. Not a huge difference. I mean, that's better in my hand than somebody else's, but
What's it gonna get financed? How many years?
8 years,
8.
eight equal payments. Yeah. So if we did the first payment this year,
Annually?
Correct.
yes, they actually offer monthly, which saves a little bit of money, but it's more paperwork, more accounting for somebody. But normally they're done annually.
And that's the balance? That's gonna be the balance?
585 is the contract amount for the truck today. That's the full amount. So you would be financing less than that.
I wasn't here when we made all the, whatever, I just got it. So that's like $73,000 a year. But you're gonna have the sale of the other truck?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the money will just go be
So-
for the equipment fund.
You're absolutely right. I used the whole number just because that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But I think you're more likely to say that 500,000 would be the finance, and I'm just picking it up. 500,000 in arrears for 7 years would be 8 equal payments still.
Do you remember what we set aside for ARPA funds for that, or what we said we'd pay?
Enough to make the first payment.
Enough to make the first
Said
payment?
first payment. Yeah.
We're figuring 80 something dollars.
And I never saw what you guys actually set aside, but I did know that the 30,000 would be there.
Mhm.
So it was kind of my assumption, but
The 30 from the sale?
no, from
The equipment
the
fund.
fire station, the additional that we added to the equipment fund this year.
And how much is the sale of the existing?
$57,250. But we have to pay them 10% for advertising it for us. So we have to pay them $5,700. So we'll be 52,000 or
Two payments.
I was gonna say, so we took the 30 with the sale, and then the first year covered by ARPA, you're talking about the first 2 payments essentially covered.
So really could,
How much is the town putting in the equipment fund now?
The proposed amount's 84.
84 every year. Okay.
Which
It
was,
would-
we were putting 52 and 30 from the fire station, and then we added a 4% inflationary.
Yeah.
and that wouldn't change their,
Didn't change the bottom line.
it doesn't change their bottom line. Keeps their bottom line the same.
What's the balance in that equipment fund right now, do you know?
I
don't see
do
it
not.
here.
Burlington?
No, equipment fund.
Oh, okay.
I do not know the answer to that.
Right here. It's in between pages, that's why.
Our equipment fund was 52,280. 52,820, I think it was.
Yeah.
That's pretty good out of memory, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fire station fund was 30,000 and something, and we added those two together.
To make it 80.
Yeah, I wanted to know what we had for a balance in that fire department fund right now, the equipment fund.
Pretty much nothing, because
So it should be flat.
that's paying for the current engine. that payment is 50,000. I think
So-
that payment was 50,280.
So is this the last payment on that one then?
I'm sorry?
So is this year's the last payment on that?
No,
one?
sir.
Next
The last
year.
payment is 26.
So where are you coming up with 80,000 for next year?
So we'll have another 30. And
Yeah, but that 30, you're claiming 30 this year, but we're gonna make it, you just made that last building payment. The 30 will be into next year's. So it won't be another 30, it'll be 30. Right?
I believe that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
the payment, the building should have been paid off in May.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be,
2024's budget.
Yeah. So
We're coming up on 2025's budget. So
Yes.
there'll be 30 to put in with, it won't be 30, it'll be what, it'll be 80. Oh, where's fire department? Right here. Fire department to the equipment fund will be 86,300. But you're saying you still need 52 of that to make the payment on the other truck?
Yes.
So it's gonna leave us 30,000 to make an $80,000 payment on this one?
But we've got the fire truck money and the ARPA funds.
No, the ARPA funds were for the first payment.
Okay.
That
So
was,
next
that
year-
was covering this year's
Okay.
payment, the ARPA funds.
So next
That's
year
what
I'll have
we
the-
said.
The station payment and the payment from this truck.
Which will be
That would be the
30
84
and
for the new
50,
truck.
so, yeah. So how many more payments do you have on that other truck?
It'll be paid off in
What, two? There's
I
one,
think 26.
so there's one this year.
One this year and one next year. Yes.
So this year will be fine.
Yep.
Next year you're gonna be,
No, next year you should
You're gonna
have
be
the money should be
$30,000.
there for next year
to make that
to
payment.
make that payment.
But what are you gonna pay that new truck with?
To make both of them.
How are you gonna make two payments with $80,000? When one's 50 and one's 80 something?
The fire truck money
So the fire truck will
and
sell for
the 30.
something.
No, you're
from the
using
station.
the fire truck money for this year coming. We're talking
I'm
25.
only talking about making one payment in 25. One payment
Right.
of whether that's ARPA money.
One payment with two trucks?
the 25, the
Yeah,
town.
Yeah, but this budget coming.
He's only
This
paying,
payment, if you're receiving that truck and we're making the payment, when's this truck coming? And when's that first payment need to be paid?
The truck that is coming now,
The new one here,
so May or June.
okay.
Yep.
So,
we would pay
Yeah,
the first
okay.
payment.
we'll make
We
the
as
first
the
payment,
board
so then
with the
you'll have-
ARPA funds would pay the first payment of that.
Okay, so then it'll be.
Then he doesn't have,
it'll be
the
the next
fire,
budget.
they,
Yeah,
as the
okay.
fire department,
Yeah.
wouldn't have to pay anything on that this year. They'd be able to use their
Yeah.
budget to pay, and then the carryover of the sale of the old truck and the 30,000 we put together to pay their second payment on it.
Yeah,
And then the following year, the third year,
okay,
they wouldn't have the payment of their old truck
right, that'll be,
and their equipment, they would be able to come together and pay their payment of their new truck.
Which is actually exactly what we had presented the very first meeting that we had, and then you gentlemen called us back and said, hey,
Yeah.
the ARPA money's here to make the first payment, so,
So,
which in my opinion puts us in much better shape.
Because you thought that it would take the amount of time in which it did
Yeah.
to get here, based on what they were saying for building wise. And to make sure we held your spot, to make sure it come in that time, because if we waited till now or later, it was gonna be
so the
that
county,
much later.
so what you're saying, what was your interest rate, your lease thing?
555,
So 2% more than municipal.
yes.
What can the town borrow from borrowed a lot of money from people's trust. I don't know what the town's rate is right now, but we might, I don't know if it's better than.
I don't know.
If it's better than 5.
As long as they were, because it would require
You'd have to, if it was,
There's just,
if the town could borrow it in 5 years with a vote, but you'd have to, if it was more than 5 years, you need a bond vote by Australian ballot, so that is a whole other thing. And then if it's less than 5 years, then you're talking about $100,000, $120,000 payments instead of $80,000 payments. So you're maybe
shorter term,
shorter term. Yeah.
500,000 over 5 years, yeah, you're 100 plus interest, so.
Now, with that said, I know this truck has gone up 13.5% since you bought it. That's $78,000. That doesn't take into account, if we were buying it now, you'd have to go into a new motor, which is up to another $80,000. So
maybe we should sell
well, you make money.
it. Trouble is, Braden's already sold the other one.
You'd make money. You'd make money.
I don't know. Whatever.
So
Whatever.
He sold that old one too quick.
Well, it surprised me. I mean, it sold very quickly, and
Are they gonna
it-
continue to use it? Or
through April, yeah.
No, I meant who's buying it from you? Are they gonna continue to use it?
Oh yeah, it's going to Kentucky.
Kentucky.
They flew up here and looked at it, and
wow.
yeah,
I thought it was going to Maine.
no, it's going to Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
So
We advertised it for 65, and they came back and countered, and we countered back at 57,250.
The town could, wow, town took
So we-
good care of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, paid 172 for that 25 years ago.
That's why this one cost $585.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked it up here just to know the provision where the town can do that, the select board can do this. The select board may enter into lease purchase agreements, installment sales agreements, and similar agreements to acquire assets for the municipality, either singly or as a participant in an interlocal contract. Such agreements, however, must contain a non-appropriation clause that states that the annual payments by the municipality must be approved by the voters. So, as long as you're putting it in your budget.
So the annual budget has to be approved, which we do that every year.
You know, it's,
So,
That's how that works.
I'll work with Matt. We'll get these documents as an option. There's no cost to do the documents.
Yeah.
And
So,
that gives everybody so that we know when the truck gets here, there's money and we aren't being.
sounds like got it all figured out.
After this truck, what would be your next, or what do you think your next?
The 2006 tanker would be the next vehicle. So that would be a 31 purchase. 2031.
What do those run? Just out of curiosity.
It is the least expensive vehicle that we own. But then that would make the most expensive, the next one beyond that, which. Yeah, no, I won't be here. But
How much water is the new one gonna carry some?
1,500. It's a 1,500 pump, 1,500 tank on it. Yep.
Is that more than the existing?
The current one is a 1,250 pump and a 1,500 tank. So operation would be very similar to what we had. Which was a big selling point when we wanted to sell it. The last truck that we tried to sell was that top kick, and I mean a farmer in Fairfield ended up buying it at $6,000, and we financed it to him. And it was in as nice a shape. But the bigger tank made this a desirable piece to sell.
Yeah. Let's hope we get the new one and we don't have any electrical problems. That seems to be big complaints.
There's a lot of pieces to these new vehicles. Yep.
A lot of features, a lot of wires.
Yep.
You haven't had any issues with the last truck?
No, it's actually been very well. I mean, we've had a couple of under warranty, the depth sensors, but it's never been out of service since we've owned it.
Yep. You should have a button in an emergency vehicle like that and just delete it. Right?
Yeah, it can.
No.
Can.
Right? If you get that all explained and, you know.
Good. And I'll work on that.
we'll
and
be in touch.
We'll get those
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah.
and-
That sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you
Good
guys.
evening. Alright. We wanna get our paperwork stuff done and then we'll work on the budget.
Sure.
Get that out of the way.
Oh, I forgot there was one other thing there that's about
This
the highway,
mileage,
that
yeah.
highway certificate. Yeah.
Kim told me
I
about
think that's a
that.
simple motion to
Yeah.
accept that.
So- What it was is when we signed our highway mileage, V-Trans came up with some different. They measured the loop on the end of Cedar Drive wrong, so we're gaining
2,100 feet.
0.01 of a mile was added to your records. But the road was remeasured later that year and the remeasurement proceeded. The mileage increasing the total mileage to 0.24 from 0.1. So we need to have a motion to sign this that we agree to the changes in our class 2 roads. So it goes from 13.13 to 13.14.
Class one?
Class 2. So it's Cedar Drive. Something about the loop on the cul-de-sac here on the end.
Class
That's
three?
a class 3 road.
Class 3.
Yeah, yeah.
How come they got it changed in class 2?
Well, it's better to get more class 2 because they'll pay more on it. I don't understand that. I was gonna say, I don't remember Cedar Drive being class 2.
Remeasured to include the entire cul-de-sac. It says select board is okay with me adding the change to the 2025 miles certificate. All they need to do is include as much during a select board meeting and send me the minutes, which I can attach to the adjusted mileage certificate. So attach copies of email correspondence.
They added it to the wrong.
So it's class 3. How come?
No.
No, it says class 2.
Yeah,
It's
there,
changing
but
too.
right here, so Cedar Point Drive. Class 3. She can
As
sort,
long as it's class
she can
3.
sort that mess out.
Yeah, I think you can just approve the change and I'll tell them that they made a mistake. And,
Okay.
You know, I think that'll be fine.
So I get a motion to approve this.
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Alright,
Straighten that out.
and I get a second on that.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Nope.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Alright. So that'll be good. There, that. Oh, so that's it.
Well, that's a petition for that you guys can consider signing as
Politic during our meeting.
individual.
For the warning or something?
What is it? School board petition, okay.
Correct.
permit.
Here's some homework for me.
Yeah.
Jeez. Or, not homework, whatever. Oh, fleet permits, you want me to do that? Sure. Till today, date 27?
Yep. I'll read the minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting, January 13th of 2025, held here at the town office. Attendance from the Select Board was Stephen Dodd, Seth Hungerford, Nick Norris, Richard Piasny. Others, Seth Cattell, our highway foreman, was here, Matt Stubbins, our town administrator, and Jerry Vasey from Northwest Access TV. At 7:38, I called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Seth Cattell gave a highway report with the board discuss winter maintenance, chloride use, backhoe maintenance, potential acquisition of a wheel loader, plans for a new salt shed, workforce training, and security measures at town garage. 7:52, the board signed payroll warrant 2501 and account payable warrants. 7:53, I read the minutes from the December 9th meeting. Rick made a motion to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Nick, and the motion carried. 8:03, I read the minutes from the December 17th budget meeting. Rick made a motion to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Nick, and the motion carried. 8:04, I read the minutes from the January 7th budget meeting. Nick made a motion, seconded by Rick, to approve the minutes as read, and the motion carried. 8:07, the board signed the annual certificate of town highway mileage. No changes were made to town highways from the past year. 8:10, the board took up the policing contract with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Two versions of the contract were reviewed, one for 16 hours a week coverage and the other for 8 hours a week. Both contracts had an hourly rate of $91.03 per hour and a term of 6 months expiring June 30th of 2025. Seth made a motion, seconded by Rick, to accept the Franklin County Sheriff's Office contract for 8 hours a week coverage through June 30th of 2025, and the motion carried. 8:15, the board took up the municipal property at Sheldon Elementary School and reviewed a proposed memorandum of understanding received from the Northern Mountain Valley Unified School District. The town's attorney had reviewed the memorandum and provided written comments. The memorandum states that the town will quit claiming school property to the district except the water and sewer facilities and generator, and the school district will assume all maintenance costs and liability insurance for the property conveyed. The select board can choose to publish notice of the intent to convey the property for 30 days, with the public having the right to petition for a public vote, or can warn the question in the upcoming annual meeting. Nick made the motion, seconded by Seth, to add the question of whether the town could convey the school property to the warning for the annual meeting. Motion carried with all in favor. 8:20, Matt Stubbins gave the town administrator's report, including upcoming annual audit with R.H. Smith and Company, Mill Street Sewer Rehabilitation Project meeting with Otter Creek Engineering, participation in the Better Roads Grant Program, potential projects for municipal planning grant application, HR administration, and remaining budget issues. 8:30, the board took up the 2025 annual meeting warning. The board discussed the officers to be elected and whether the question should be warned to have the select board appoint the town clerk and treasurer. The board also discussed the request from the Sheldon Food Shelf on whether it should be included in a line item for appropriations. Included in the line item for appropriations to nonprofits. 8:36, Seth made a motion to include the food shelf in the nonprofit appropriation line item and to increase the line item to 13,000. This was seconded by Nick and the motion carried with all in favor. 8:42, the board took up the 2025 municipal budget. The line item for police services was set at 60,000, the same as last year. 8:59, Nick made a motion, seconded by Seth, to adjourn the meeting, which carried with all in favor. Next regular meeting is January 27th at 7:30 p.m. Take the motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Alright, your second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
This anything we have to take up, Matt, this petition from T-Mobile?
No, that's, it's not a petition, it's more of a notice it's a notice that there's a permit being, I believe it's a permit that's being applied for, telecom tower. I did talk to that, I talked to the attorney who said that, and he said it's really just for your information, although certainly if the town wanted to have some objection to that.
Where's the tower going? This time?
I believe it's the tower that's on.
East Sheldon Road.
Are they making it bigger?
Project involves modifications to existing telecommunications facility.
Oh, okay.
Project includes the replacement of 3 existing panel antennas with 3 new panel antennas. Project also involves the installation of associated equipment. The antenna equipment will not extend above the tower, and will extend a maximum of approximately 8 foot horizontally from the tower.
No, it's
So
not.
they're just going up there and doing some maintenance.
Change, putting some new equipment on it, I guess. Changing a few things.
There's like a lot of papers.
Yeah, so I just called to clarify that we
Lot
don't
of
have to take
trees
any
right there.
action on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Certainly. I guess if you guys wanted to intervene in that process, you could.
No.
Alright,
I don't have any.
what do you got for us, Matt? For,
Okay,
administrator's report.
yeah. So, as mentioned in the minutes, the R.H. Smith and Company were here last week, or, they were here two weeks ago, or right after your last meeting. They were here, most but not all the day, and they got done around 2 o'clock, I think, and completed the audit as far as I know. And, to my knowledge, didn't find anything of issue that was brought up that day, so, I assume that they're preparing their report. I don't know that we received, so I'm gonna follow up with them if they haven't, sent to Kim. What we were hoping to get this year was a short report, which is what we received, 2 or 3 years ago, which included some, a few, financial statements that would satisfy the requirements that you're supposed to publish in the town report. if those aren't available, and when I discussed when I discussed the audit with them some months ago, that was the goal of having them come in and do this. I suppose in the event that those aren't available to us as the town report goes to press, we will, as an alternate, I expect that they will be available between now and town meeting, and we will put in the reports that they will be available at the town office for review or on the website and at the town meeting. So it would be best to put it in the report, but if not, we'll do the second best thing. So that happened. We this morning had a meeting. Hubert and I met with Robert Clark from Otter Creek, so we finally touched base on that. We took a look at the plans that were drawn up by Phelps back in 2013, and Robert highlighted a few remaining things that needs to be. First of all, he doesn't have that. He does not have those plans in CAD. He just has a PDF copy of them, so they sort of have to be redone anyway. And there's a bit of information that was missing on those plans. So there's some survey work that will need to be done in the short term here. They also need to. I don't think they completed finding out where all of the household service lines tie into that sewer now, so that's most of the extent of the survey work that needs to be done. He said that there's we had thought that a wastewater permit was not going to necessarily be needed to do this, but he said that I think as of 2019, if you move when you're doing a rehabilitation project, if you move the sewer over more than 5 feet from where it was before, that requires a permit. And so the original Phelps drawings had contemplated moving the sewer more to the more from the right hand side from the right hand lane more to the middle of the road. I think the idea of doing that was to minimize the distance that it takes to get the sewer down the road. So we asked him to review how much, if there's a way that we can reorient the path, so we may have to, so that we can avoid having to get that permit. But he didn't think that would be an issue getting a permit. But it would be one of the first things we would be doing after we get this survey and a plan drawn up.
How long did he say that permit took?
I don't remember exactly how much he said, but he thought that we would be able to get a bid out within 3 months. So I assume that means that the permit would take less than 3 months, because we wouldn't be able to go to bid without a permit in hand, I believe.
How many feet was it?
I think it's about 600 feet. Actually, I can't remember. I could let you know in a minute here, but
That's the amount of pipe that we're gonna replace.
Because we're talking from post office to the catch basin, correct?
Two skips, right?
no to the where the newer sewer ends on right at Shawville Road, essentially. There's a
From the post office down to Shawville Road?
correct.
That's
Yeah, it's more. It's just
More than
before.
600 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. The issue that we have is between the post office and the rail trail, but the vitrified clay pipe keeps going past that, and the idea would be to just replace all of that old service line.
That'll be interesting to all that mill traffic.
Right, that was a thing that we discussed with Robert. The goal would be to try to maintain single lane throughout the whole process. And he said they might have to get creative about that, but he thought it was doable. Just because obviously the plant has 24/7 operations. So
Yeah.
so yeah, his anticipation was that we could bring this project to bid in 3 months, in up to 3 months, and that he thought that even with that, it was still pretty good chances of being able to go to construction late in the summer or in the fall. So he seemed pretty, optimistic about that. We had a discussion beyond this project, just kind of about the other issues we have with the wastewater system that we've talked about, including the other part of the Phelps engineering was creating a channel over to the other side of 105. I discussed with him our discussions we've had with potential people who might be interested in developing property over there. That the town probably needs to develop a policy for sewer expansion, so that we can work with the developer on either building something to town standards or some way making that process less of a guessing game in terms of who's going to jump first or whether they're going to jump together. Kind of thing. I also brought up our issues with the coming necessity of re-examining both the water and sewer rates, and he had some ideas about that, and we talked about he talked about some other projects he's involved in up in this area, but he said that he personally is not too extended up in this neck of the woods, so he thinks that he'll have plenty of time to work on this project for us. So, anyway, it was a very productive initial meeting. He and Hubert went down to look at the site down there to get some basic information. I gathered quite a lot of the information between the old sewer maps and water line maps to kind of show him where things were, and also I found some of the old highway maps from when the state owned Mill Street. So he thought those were pretty useful. So because I reminded him that part of the initial project for Phelps was to improve some of the stormwater down there, particularly that catch basin down at the end that's too small. I know when the fire department got put in, that some of that was upgraded, so we don't have to do all of the things that were on the roof.
Yeah. There's some mystery down there to where the water goes.
Yes, and mystery kind of continues right now. We have pretty low flow going into the sewer plant. Right, I think Hubert said it was like 2,500 gallons today, which is way down from where it can be.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So did
Have they finished continuing cammering the rest of the way yet? Not yet, right?
They cambered they tried to do between the post office and the rail trail again, and that didn't work. And I got that. I got those files to Robert finally, but he hadn't had time to look at them. But below that on Mill Street was not done. I thought it was going to be last time, but it wasn't. But instead, they did boarding house, and the on boarding house itself, the sewer looked pretty good. I think there's one service line coming in that has some problems, but the boarding house line itself looks pretty good, and that I'm optimistic that might be a good candidate for the slip lining treatment that you can do, which will extend the life of that line quite a bit. But the issue that we found there was once you get down past boarding house and you're behind where the trailers are, on Shawville where the houses used to be, there's an issue in there going from of course that's where the old sewer outfall was, but basically going from there to where the sewer is on Mill Street, there's an issue there, and I think there's basically a big tree that needs to be cut down probably. So there's an area in there we couldn't get past the camera through. So, but
go ahead.
Did
Hunter receive his license?
He did not yet. He was scheduled to do his test a couple weeks ago, first or second week of January, and they right before we had that snowstorm, and they called him
Oh,
the night before the test and basically said, "Oh, there's going to be bad weather, so we're postponing the test." And so he's scheduled to get it, I think, the first week of February. He'll be scheduled to take his test at that time. So
this is 12/23 sewer test. And then,
It's paid for, it's just rescheduled, right?
yes,
Oh,
he's
okay.
we booked the test. It's still it just got postponed.
sewer test, and then he's got a license. So, they got a license ready for him if he passes the
Yeah.
test, I guess.
You got the paper printed.
That's great. Get this right.
Speaking of training, the highway did their pesticide training last Friday, and they all passed. So
Jeez.
our crew is fully certified for that. That cost us $90 for them to take those tests. But and so we met our obligation for. I had applied for an extension of the. We were supposed to get that done by January 15th, but I asked for we had planned to attend a training that and then it snowed, so we went out and plowed snow, and so I asked them to extend it to the 31st, and they said that's fine. So we've now complied with the
How long is that certification good for?
3 years. So we've complied with the agreement that we made with the state. So I directed the clerk to pay the $6,600 of the reduced amount of the fine. So as far as I know, now the next step in that is that this year we are going, and every year we are supposed to apply, if we're going to apply pesticides, we need to get a permit for it. So we'll be applying for that for March. And the lady who came and did the training said that she would be very happy to come out the date, when we're doing the spraying. Before we do the spraying, to go out and mark the roads, like, yes, you can spray here, no, you can't spray here. And that way we can have it all be by the book. So I think we're on the way to compliance there. So
He sprayed any endangered species. Must be, that's it.
Do you know, I see that there's the check for the field days land, and we discussed that prior.
say that again.
There was the check for the field days, the $5,000.
Right. So to my knowledge, that Kim got in touch with or called them and asked them, or yeah, maybe it was Debbie. But anyway, we called them and said, "What do you want us to do with this appropriation?" And they essentially said, "Well, we didn't acquire." They asked for for $5,000 to help them acquire land, and since they didn't acquire the land, they didn't want the $5,000. So
the check was issued, and then
yeah, we never issued. We did not issue the check to them because they didn't want it. Basically.
okay.
Because
because it was on there with the check number, so I was asking.
Oh, okay.
But I think it said reimburse.
That's why I didn't see the reimbursement.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, to my knowledge, we didn't send them a check.
Okay.
So essentially, that money went unspent for that year.
Did you know what the school generator issue was?
Yeah. So the school called, or Boomhauer called me because the generator does a self-test once a week, and anyway, apparently it did that self-test and burned up some, it started smoking and burning fuel and overheated. So
Recently?
yeah, this was
There
about
are hours for.
yeah, it was about I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago this happened. So I had Seth go down and look at it. He said he figured out it was they went to put some antifreeze in it and it spilled antifreeze all over. So he said it's got to be a water pump or a hose issue, but you can't see into the compartment of where to look at it. So I called Reliant and had them come up, and they serviced it last Monday anyway. The 24th. That was the end of last week. Anyway, on Thursday or Friday, they serviced it, and they, as far as I know, they put they fixed some hoses on it, and they put new oil and a new filter on it, and ran a test. And as far as I know, it's working well now. And so, yeah, it was something that came up, but this year we have budgeted for that, so that would be. As far as I know, it should be working fine now. So yeah, that's why the crew had it on that they went down and inspected it. And actually, I think they went down there twice because I wanted them to give me some. When I called Reliant, suddenly they wanted to know everything about the generator, and I didn't have all the information about it, so they went down and looked at it. Got some facts for me. What's other things that happened last week? So I talked with, I sent I drew up the warning as we had talked about at the last meeting, and I basically sent the whole thing to Jim Barlow and just had him check out that the wording and order was correct. And he said that was fine. I made the changes that Jim had suggested to the memorandum with the school, and so those have been, and I sent those back to the school, and they said that's fine. So as far as I know, if you approve that memorandum, if you sign that, they'll sign it as well, and we can include that in the town report to explain the question about conveying the school property. Had to go back to talking to VLCT a little bit about this. When the last time I had met with and Steve was there too, about the Swan Water Line. They had asked us to get some information about what the town's options or what a fire district's options would be for liability insurance. So I've done my due diligence and figured that out. So, which essentially the VLCT said we would advise you not to acquire this property. But anyway, I've let that be known to the group of people working on that. So I'm not sure. The ball would be in the court of the people interested in that line to take action, I think. But anyway, I want to follow up on something that Nick had asked me about, and just wanted to let you know that. So Nick had asked me about policies the town could adopt regarding homeless encampments if that ever became an issue. The guidance on that changed in light of the Supreme Court decision last year. So before that Supreme Court decision, in general, you would be advised as a town not to ban activities or people from being on town property. But that Supreme Court decision it said that it was okay for municipalities to ban camping specifically on their properties. So the town would have some options in that regard, and then there are some. I don't know that there's any town who's taken. There are several towns who are working on those policies right now. I'm not aware of anyone that has actually adopted one yet, but so that'd be worth looking at when they do that. I know that there are some provisions you can also take in the zoning bylaws if you wanted to about camping restrictions in certain areas or something like that. But in my understanding is the town. I don't know what the town might be limited in what they could prescribe people to do with their own property, but on municipal property,
Right.
we understand.
No camping.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Per that.
No camping.
Yeah. Right.
If you will, something to that effect.
Hey, did you have, I was wondering, since you mentioned that, when was the last time you had your monthly administrator
We
meeting?
just had it today, actually.
Is anybody else that come up?
That did not come up. I mean, mostly we were talking about various infrastructure projects that different towns are working on, and We actually had a presentation today from, which I'm glad you mentioned. We had a presentation from regional planning that I expect regional planning will be coming to one of your meetings in the next couple months because they want to talk about the changes of, I think it's Act 181, I think. So this is just part of the Act 250 changes where essentially the state is going to set targets for new housing units that should be built in the state to meet the market of how many people need houses. And they are, my understanding from the presentation today is that that's sort of going to have a regional component where regional planning is going to kind of have each region is going to be assigned a certain kind of amount of that statewide number, and then it's supposed to municipalize that idea. So basically every town is going to have not a suggested but not by any means required kind of idea of how many housing units should be created to what's this town's share of creating new housing. But specifically what they're working on right now, they're working right now on editing our regional plan for Franklin County about this. And part of what's changing is that they have that village designation policy that the town created some village centers a couple of years ago. And the way that program is structured right now, there's like 5 different designations for downtown and whatever. And they're going to simplify that to there's 2. There's village centers and then there's neighborhoods kind of. Yeah. And essentially what that's going to do is this all has to do with where Act 250 would be assumed to be exempt. So right now, for example, if you have an area like Sheldon Springs where there's water and sewer, by this new law, it's understood that in general there would be no need for Act 250 permitting in that area, for example. And that right now there's just an arbitrary 10-mile circle drawn around that area but as regional planning works through it, they're gonna give that area shape based on all kinds of other factors, like where there's floodplains and whatever. Anyway, the good news for the town is I think the governor this week is supposed to announce at least his plan for how he wants to how the state's gonna operationalize this. And what I think regional plan is anticipating is that these new designation centers are places where there's no Act 250 or where it's assumed that Act 250 will be preempted. The state will begin offering incentives of some sort for people to develop in those areas. There's a question of what those incentives. Obviously, the governor can propose whatever he wants, but that won't necessarily become law. And so the question remains of what those incentives will be, and will they be powerful enough to actually do anything. But that what it means for the town of Sheldon, as I've been looking into it, our village designation zones as they exist right now are pretty small in terms of here in the village. It would just be from this intersection here in front of at Bridge Street down to where where Pleasant Street comes out and starts straightening out. And so that area is where we're limited to having, tax credit incentives, all the planning, incentives for getting more grants, et cetera, but it's a limited area. Once regional planning has fleshed out this Act 250 zone, less zone, suddenly that area is going to get a lot bigger, and will include the neighborhoods around it. And so there'll be more opportunities for, like I said, there could be more opportunities for tax credits for other incentive-based programs, more access for grant for higher ranking for grant projects, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see how that works. Anyway, I expect that regional planning will come and give a full presentation to the planning commission and to you in the next few months about this subject. But anyway, that's what most of our time at the administrator's lunch was dedicated to. But I can make a note to ask about that in the future.
If anybody else is looking into it or
Yeah.
has, or borrow some language.
Okay, well that's
Housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got, warning?
Oh yes, I forgot to print that. Yeah, if you give me 1 minute, I'll print that. I'm sorry.
Maybe that. Down in Sheldon Springs there. Yerkes there, and that all permitted there, and all through somersaults and everything else. The other things. Maybe that will simplify it.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, right there. Town fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. So this is the one. And I just for reference, I put the statutes there referenced by those appointment things. I don't know if we want to put that in the report or not. But, just,
You want me to read this out?
if you wish. No, I will remind you that the dollar amounts for the appropriate for the budget are not in there. Just
Okay, yeah, we'll put those in when we
Yeah.
finalize the budget. Alright, so this is the warning as it's written here. Town of Sheldon annual meeting Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. The legal voters of the town of Sheldon, Vermont are hereby warned, notified to meet at the Sheldon Elementary School, 78 Poor Farm Road in Sheldon Springs, Vermont, on Tuesday, March 4th of 2025 at 10 a.m. to transact the following business. Article 1, to elect the following town officers as required by law. We need a moderator for 1 year, town clerk for 3 years, town treasurer for 3 years, select board member for 3 years, select board member for 2 years, select board member for 1 year, remaining of a 3-year term. Library trustee for 5 years, library trustee for 1 year, remaining of a 5-year term, and delinquent tax collector for 1 year. And then Article 2, shall the voters authorize the select board to appoint a town clerk as provided in 17 VSA 2651E. And then Article 3, shall the voters authorize the select board to appoint the town treasurer as provided in that same article. Article 4, shall the voters authorize the select board to appoint a delinquent tax collector as provided. That, how come the tax collector, oh, okay, yeah, okay, it was on there as an officer, yeah. Okay. Act upon reports of the town officers. Is Article 5. Article 6, shall the voters authorize the town treasurer to collect current taxes pursuant of 32 VSA 4791. Article 7, shall the voters authorize total expenditures for general and highway fund operating expenses of whatever we come up with for a budget, of which the amount shall be raised by taxes. Article 8, shall the voters authorize the construction of a new salt storage facility on the town garage property at a total expense not to exceed to be financed over a period not to exceed 5 years. Article 9, shall the voters authorize the select board to convey the 11.4 acre parcel on which the Sheldon Elementary School is located to the Northern Mountain Valley United School District, as described in the memorandum of understanding between the town and school district. And Article 10, to discuss any other non-binding business. Are we gonna have solid numbers on that salt shed?
Yeah, that is
What
a,
is
Are there
the,
non-profits in there?
yeah, where's,
Or they were just in the budget?
oh,
they're in the budget.
they're in the
Yeah.
budget, okay.
Yeah. They're in the budget.
I thought you were gonna include that
Well, we talked about
food
it,
basket
we had,
for the church, or you just put that?
We're gonna put that in with the other nonprofits.
Okay. And then there'll be.
I can get you a square footage cost of what we had at the AOT job for the trusses and the
okay,
siding and things like that, just as a number.
Yeah,
okay.
I can get you the square footage of that, or what square footage, and we can use that.
Should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so,
The estimate on, they put like, those were 8-inch, the concrete was,
8 inch, 12 foot high wall, so
I think
that's
that's.
basically a bunker.
those are, that's a, yeah, I
Um,
don't know, do you think it needs to be 12-foot walls? It has like a tapered wall,
Yeah,
which is more expensive than just a straight 8, cause they gotta use commercial forms.
yeah. And I know they need,
This is
yeah,
salt
I mean, there's not gonna be any pressure on
This
this.
is salt.
So it depends on if we go higher, you know, go 8 plus more to raise the roof up, so you're not,
10-foot
Yeah.
walls.
yeah.
10-foot walls less money than,
Would be cheaper than,
Yeah.
10-foot walls cheaper than a 12-foot wall.
Yeah, so, what we have quoted, what we had quoted from Harrison's was a, 1 foot by 2 foot, footings with 6 pilasters, 12 foot by 10-inch walls with reinforcing.
Yeah.
And so those, 6 pilasters would be 12 foot by 8-inch
Yeah.
with, and.
I have a question whether you need it 12-foot high. Who's gonna put sand in there 12 feet high? Well, who's gonna put salt in there 12 feet high?
yeah.
Well, are you gonna put it so you can dump a truck in it or not?
You don't think you can?
Well, I mean, you certainly could build
Put it
something.
together, truck in there, 16 feet.
Usually they just dump it and push it in.
Yeah, I
They
think,
just push it in, and that's what they've been doing for the last 4 years. And then to dump it in there, how you were, what I wanna say, the positioning of depending on where you put this, you're not gonna be able to just back right up to it anyway. They back, like the sheds, right now,
Yeah.
the shed's here and the truck backs up here and then they dump it and then they push it in. They get the trailer load at a time, put it in there. My question there is, how big is how big does the saw shed need to be? Or how high, you know? How high is the one we have? And, you know,
What we have is very tight.
Yeah.
It's
it
not-
is, it's
it's
not
too
white,
narrow.
I don't believe it's white.
For ease of getting in and out, I would say it needs to be double what we have, if not triple.
Well, it'd be nice if it was, yeah, whiter, 16 or 20. Instead of the concrete to make it higher, I'd rather have it be, spend the money on concrete in the back whiter.
If you go higher, or even if you go 10-foot or 8-foot walls and you go higher so you can stack it higher or push it higher, then it's not in the front, and then you can get loads earlier or later. That's just my,
Well, if it's 12-foot walls, you're really gonna have to put anything but just a plate on the top of it then.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what,
Plate it, but
you know, how high can you
sort of
stack it when it's
truss
12 feet high? Or it's 12 feet up?
Eight. For you, with your bucket and stuff, you're only gonna get 8 feet out of it anyway. You know, so,
I think that's what Seth's idea was, to just put a plate and put rafters on top of that, you know.
I guess that would be.
yeah, but I mean, you got 4 foot of concrete you're not gonna ever use.
Right, yeah.
It's never gonna see a grain of salt on that top
Right.
4 feet all the way around. Even
Right,
in the
I know.
back, you know.
The 12-foot wall is a lot more expensive from
Yeah,
my
that's what I
experience.
mean, if you pour a straight 8 foot wall, even if they had to put some wing walls on the back where the pressure's gonna be pushing,
Or you go to a thicker wall.
and then build 6 foot, yeah, or a thicker wall on the back, and then, you know, you put 4 or 6 foot wall on the side, wood wall on it, and throw trusses on it.
Yeah, that's gonna be $150, $200 a foot. Or more. Maybe more, I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, I was trying to find some comparables, but there are very few towns that have built a salt shed this small, it seems like, or at least.
What was the dimension
They were at, what we had asked for was a 14 by 40, so that's a little bit wider than what we got now, and essentially the same length. But most towns that are building salt sheds, at least that I could find RFPs for, are talking like, you know, an 80 by 100 building, or, you know, a 6 bay.
They're putting salt and
Yeah,
sand.
they're talking, you know, at least $100,000 more than we would be building, I think, yeah.
I'd rather see them put the money in the town garage and not,
Mhm.
you know, spend $1 million on salt shed.
I'm just looking at what we've got for a salt shed and how long it's worked and how much money it's spent. We got pretty good value.
Yeah,
Looks like something
But I also know the more roads we pave, the more salt we're gonna use.
That's the problem,
yeah.
So what we have and what we may use in the next
That's
5
right.
years may not be what we're using the next 15.
That's right. That's right.
So
The only problem that I can see is if you make it too big, you're gonna wanna park equipment in there because of the salt. So that's the only use it's gonna have is to store salt.
Mhm.
You know, so make it big enough so you can get salt in there, but don't overkill. I'd rather see you go make the salt part of it the right size you want, and if you need more storage, make your trusses overhang on one side, and you've got, you know, you've got that 8 foot cement wall there, and you throw some stone down, and you got some dry storage for all this stuff that's in that lean-to now,
right.
you know.
Off the east side.
Yeah. But that's my own thought. I mean, we do commodity bay, and we only got 4 foot walls, and we put, you know, 28 ton of cornmeal in there. It's 16 by 30 our bays there. But you know, like it's exceed, either 16 or 20 by 40, but I don't think we need to go any wider than that.
I would think 20 by 40, and that,
Yeah.
you don't have to have the opening 20 feet wide, you could shrink it down to have 16, so if we wanted to gate it or fence it or anything like that, we could. And then that keeps less snow, because it is north facing, out of it, or potentially out of it.
Yeah.
And it's not, like I said, we're not building it, hopefully it lasts the same 40 years.
I think it will, if you make it concrete.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's not gonna go anywhere, if it's got good footings. You're gonna wanna put almost, you're gonna make it frost, it's gonna be in there, below frost. Right?
Mm.
So maybe that 12 foot, maybe he's thinking that 3 feet of that is in the ground.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think,
Pouring it just like a bunker.
Yeah.
You just blow and pour your slab on top of it.
Right, but and a lot less things would happen if it was,
Yeah, oh yeah.
if
If it was 12 feet total wall and 4 foot was in the ground, and you had
I'm just saying,
8 foot of
You know-
exposed, and then
you would know that it's not gonna, it's a lot less likely to crack or get something like that. Anyway. You gotta put a little more time into it, put a number on it.
and that takes some of your movement away from it because you're not as much sticking out. You have some in. Yes. Mhm.
be less.
Can we put that warning in there without a number? And then you can get your solid numbers before town meeting day?
I'm not sure
When
about
that comes
that.
up, we can discuss
You're gonna
it.
need a number.
Yeah, I think you need a budgetary figure.
Well, I think we'd have a number. Well, yeah,
You
that's
could put
true.
in there not to exceed it now.
That's
Right,
that's the
that's-
idea.
It is, but
And I think we have time between now and town meeting to go get a much more solid number and even some bids.
When's it gonna be to print? When's this going to print?
This week, yeah, I think,
Thursday.
yeah, Thursday. Yeah.
She wants us to sign all this stuff tonight because it's going Thursday.
I can probably get a number by 1 tomorrow.
Okay.
You're the builder,
Okay.
and then, like I said, we can put in
And
there
I can get a
a
hold
number
of Matt.
not to exceed, and then
Yep, I can get a hold of Matt and
we might
let you
build
guys
it,
know what the number is and
we
go from
might
there.
build it cheaper, see? We put the number in that not to exceed, and then if we get,
Yep. And then we can do cheaper.
at town meeting, we can, at the vote, we can, might be able to take some, air out of there, bring the money down. Who knows?
So this, tell the voters authorize select board to appoint a clerk. Where's that language you have? I just had it here.
I got one.
Sounds like we may have some candidates,
Yeah.
should we?
Oh, I got it right here. I got it right in my hand. I know I had it.
I mean, we got that because we were wondering if we we're gonna get a candidate or two, but sounds like we may have those, right?
Yeah, so we might not have to bother with these. That just, does, allowing us to appoint, does that an appointed position still have to be a resident of the town?
No, I don't. I believe that you can appoint whoever you want. It does not. Yeah, it does not have to be someone from town that you appoint. There is a provision as well that you could you could warn. There's provision in the law that allows the voters to choose that they can elect someone not from the town of Sheldon. So you would remain in elected position, but candidates who are from Vermont but don't live in Sheldon could be elected. That's a separate provision of the law. I think we discussed that a few months ago, and your preference was that if we were going to consider doing anything, we would just consider the appointment. But
I think if we've got some interest now with some candidates coming forward, that we leave well enough alone.
So don't put those articles in there.
Worked well for quite a few years. I don't. What do you have here?
What if we don't put it in?
so if you don't put it in, I mean, it sounds like you'll have a candidate. And assuming that they run, and then there may be others, who knows, you'll get somebody elected, and then they would.
Say
It'd
that
be
the candidate backs out from now until then.
Alright, so if that happens,
That's what I'm
if there's
asking.
no nominee, this board has the power to appoint until the next town meeting.
Does it have to be someone from the town?
I think it would in that situation,
Yeah.
yes, because it's still an elected position, and
We-
whatever circumstances are
We would
limiting.
appoint you.
Yeah. Whatever circumstances limit the election also limit the appointment in that case, but.
Yeah. Richard, Brad talked about that. He always wanted to be, he always thought he might wanna be town clerk, he told me that. At one point.
This cat doesn't want to be.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, just about every other office, so.
Yeah, you could,
So
yeah. You just have to hire a lot of assistants.
You haven't even tried it yet.
No sense, you just have to hire more assistants.
Yeah.
One for each day.
Yeah. Full-time permanent.
Just come in on Saturdays and look things over.
It's the,
What do you think? I mean, I don't know, if we got a candidate, if there's a candidate.
So if we leave this in there and we get a candidate and she runs, which will be first on the first article.
Yeah.
When we get down to Article 2, can someone stand up and say,
Pass over it, or?
can we pass over this, or
Mhm.
can we can
I believe that's good, yes, or somebody can move the question, and if the voters say no, then it's voted down also, that's the other, you can, you can elect to pass over the article, or someone, one of the.
Well, I just don't-
Right, yeah,
you know, you put this warning out there and somebody says, oh, maybe I'll run for town clerk, and then they look and, well,
mhm.
select board's gonna appoint one, so.
I put that in the draft, select board report, I kind of put in there that I think this board's opinion would be if someone was qualified and you'd be welcoming that person, but the idea of warning this was just in case of the situation where there were no nominees.
I just say,
Cause we have a resume from an interested person, but he's not a town resident, so.
I say just let it go. You know,
Warn it this way and
I just leave it just the way it's always been. But, and then if.
what do you guys say? Somebody make a motion to accept this warning or make a motion we change this warning or?
So, if she's elected,
Right.
and then we go forward with these articles there, then she's gonna be elected for how long, and then we're gonna be hiring whoever Clark is?
Well, in the circumstance where someone gets elected and then
Yeah.
you don't pass over the articles and
You
the
don't
articles are approved,
Mm-hmm.
then that person would take office, and then I think it's 45 days later they would the office would cease to exist or something like that.
Yeah.
Unless they applied for it and chose.
Right, exactly, right. But that's in the circumstance where the voters decide that the voters make two decisions in short and rapid succession that are at complete odds with each other, but.
Which is the same issue that we ran into with the
Yeah.
listers and with the other positions that have been, eliminated over time. But it was never an issue to keep it on then.
Then you got,
I think that keeping it as is doesn't hurt us. It doesn't change anything. If we remove it and then like the scenario that Seth popped up, well now someone withdraws their interest, then we've kind of erased the option to go down the appointment road for the hiring of, you know what I mean? Then we're trying to appoint someone for a year instead of, we anticipated this scenario, we have this option available to us and it's been warned to the town. If the town wants to keep it as is with the election of town clerks every third year, then
In
they'll
the,
elect someone and then this will get voted down.
my goodness. Sounds like a lot of talk time to me at town meeting, that's what,
That's why we got rid of the school stuff. Right, so we have it.
what do you talk to?
That's like,
we know you like talk time.
Yeah, I can get, come. It's up to you.
I'm fine keeping it as it's written now,
Rick, yeah,
That's just-
okay. Well,
but that's just one vote.
I leave it just as is, just in case.
okay,
Is that a
we'll
motion?
leave it as written here.
Motion to accept this morning as written.
I'll make a motion.
The only thing is adding in the dollar amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Alright, we'll set the warning in the way it is and
And then during the meeting, if we
During
want to
the
pass
meeting,
over those.
when it comes,
if there's
that
a
article
election,
comes up
Yep.
for discussion there, we can,
You can pop up.
Yeah, we can just,
Take care of it the same way. Didn't you make that motion right after the first? That happened last time. With the auditors.
yeah.
I think with the auditors, when we moved to contract.
Oh, yeah,
out,
that's right,
immediately
yeah.
You moved to that item to have it.
Right, yeah. And there was a motion to pass over
Right.
the thing that was now moved, yeah.
if you pass
Okay.
over it, if you come back up again, and another,
Or you can, you can move to table, not table, but postpone indefinitely would be the correct motion.
whatever the motion is,
Right.
we'll have that ready.
Right.
I think it's postpone indefinitely.
I did have a request for us to post on our town website or through social media the anticipated openings coming up for town office so that people,
Yep.
if they're waiting for it to come out in print and they're not aware of it yet.
I can do that tomorrow.
What's the municipal?
Code of ethics?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's a percent vote.
All right. let's-
You wanna explain that, Matt?
Yeah.
Code of ethics, well, we're in trouble now.
So, the legislature passed the law last year that, well, as some of you may recall, about 5 or 6 years ago, they wanted all the towns to adopt conflict of interest policies. They've now changed their mind that instead of towns having conflict of interest policies, they want the state to have a uniform municipal code of ethics. So there was a law passed that basically takes away your power to make conflict of interest policy with respect to town officers or municipal officers, and a municipal code of ethics replaced that as of January 1st. So in that folder is a copy of the law with the municipal code in it, and there's also a quick guide to what exactly that means. But in general, the regime that the state is contemplating now is mandating by this law is that they will make there's a law passed that is the rule for all the towns, but towns are supposed to adopt policies to enforce and investigate according to this code. I will parenthetically put in here, but there's not, in terms of enforcement, there's not a whole lot you can do really other than, publicly chastise someone, really. generally speaking, because there's no provision for removing someone from office,
So
really.
the perks.
So, yeah, so, anyway, so I had looked at this back in the summer, fall, and at that time, there was no guidance out yet about what towns should do with respect to these enforcement policies, and anyway, late in the middle of December, League of Cities and Towns came out with what they think towns should do, and their interpretation of the law is that this the best way to comply with the law is through a municipal ordinance as opposed to a simple policy. And they have model language there that I have printed up for you to look at. We don't necessarily have to look at that today, but it's something we should be doing in the next few months here. The other thing that is required in this law is that the town needs to designate a couple of people. Essentially, if there are complaints received, if there's a complaint received from basically anyone that's alleging that someone with the town has violated the code of ethics, there needs to be a person designated to receive that complaint. A person, or I suppose it could be yourselves as a body, to receive that complaint. And I believe I made a little checklist there, Steve. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember everything. So the town needs to enact processes for investigation and enforcement of alleged violations by ordinance, personnel policy or rule. Again, the LCT is recommending by ordinance. We need to post that to the town website once it's adopted. I've already done the things that are checked off here are things I've already done in terms of posting things to the website and on physically. So that you need to designate each municipality's legislative body must designate either an employee or one of its own members to serve as the ethics liaison to the state ethics commission. So basically the person who's going to interface with the state ethics commission. Assign a municipal officer or body to receive complaints alleging violations of the code of ethics, and if if that person who's been designated to receive complaints is an individual, you need to assign another municipal officer or a body to receive complaints against them. So, yeah.
These roles can administer.
I can do all except for the last one, probably. Yeah.
Sounds like a good one.
Right. I think the simpler thing would probably be to designate yourselves as a body as the place to receive complaints, and then you won't have to designate another person to investigate you because
Training requirement.
anyway.
Sounds
And then
like just
so
what
then
the
finally,
administrator would say.
There's training.
the other requirement is that municipal officers are supposed to receive training. You have until September this year to do it. I think the Secretary of State's office has prepared a video training that you can do for free to suffice that. But that would include chief administrative officers, so I assume that's me, all select board members, and then members of any board that acts in a quasi-judicial capacity. So that would be Board of Abatement, Board of Civil Authority, and the Development Review Board. So
Who's so
They all
bored?
make picture.
apparently, yeah, because yeah. So essentially, our justices of the peace would have to be trained as well, and the town clerk would need to be trained.
So this municipal code here, where is that?
There's a copy of it in the folder, and
Okay.
it's basically the law that was passed. Yeah.
Huh. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's a bunch of work.
That'll just attract more people to the offices.
Yep.
I was just gonna say, so you're re-upping, right?
Yeah, right. I know. It's gonna be great.
Training. I figured you'd get on the board a few years and be pretty well trained.
I was gonna say, we should have training for this stuff, no.
So I think what the best thing to do, the thing I would like to take action on, would like you to take action on tonight would be the designation part, creating and enacting the policy, I figured, or excuse me, ordinance, I figured would, might take a couple of meetings, and I thought, you guys should have some time to read and review that before you, just adopt something.
This is the law.
It is correct, yeah. Act 171. So, part of these things came into force in July, but the rest of the law came into force as of
What is it,
January.
what is it you want the board to act on?
I would like, so the board needs to designate someone to be the liaison to the state ethics commission.
Oh.
And then they need to designate someone to receive complaints about either a person or a body. So my personal recommendation is that you probably have me serve as the liaison, and that you would act as a body yourselves to receive complaints. I think that would be the most efficient
Make a
way to
motion.
deal with that.
I make a motion, yeah, I'll second it.
Yeah.
I'll third it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I should have said all
Then
that.
you gotta get, every 3 years, you gotta get new training. They'll come up with new training,
That's correct, yes.
and at a cost, I'm sure.
As far as my understanding,
No, there'll be a cost.
eventually.
There's a cost to everything.
Yeah.
There's a cost.
Time, no,
I mean,
yeah.
if they don't charge you, you're gonna have to take your time and do it.
Okay,
Or,
so,
yeah, whatever.
anyway, we'll circle back, I think we should circle back to the ordinance at the next meeting.
Good.
Did
You'll
you,
start on it.
did you get a copy of the highway report?
Highway.
Not for us, for the one, for anything for the,
Oh, for the book committee?
yeah, just for you to review as administrator?
I've sort of assembled one, you mean with,
You working with
Which were
Seth on,
retained,
yeah, the
yeah.
highway report separate for, they do their own report.
oh,
correct?
right, we've not had a highway report in a few years. But
Okay.
I have not gotten a copy of that, but I can work with that.
Kind of like in this selectman's report here.
Yeah, I put
Yep.
some highway stuff in your.
That's why I was asking, cause I was like, should this go on a highway
That's kind
report?
of, no, usually there, that's always been the case with.
Yeah.
Covering the paving?
Yeah.
We're kind of the board is
Mm-hmm.
the people in charge of the roads.
So this budget,
Mhm.
did you get a chance to look at this one?
I
Copy
think-
that Kim gave us?
I
Gave
did,
me?
very briefly, but I did. I believe the only question I have is, did she, what does it say for under, listers? What does it say for tax matters? Just wanna make sure that, I think that's the only thing that's really changed. At least that I had something to do with.
Tax mapping.
Should be under listers.
Yeah, it's got 10,750.
That's correct, yep, that is the correct amount, so, the last time you had looked at that, at the budget, I had estimated $8,000 for the tax mapping after talking with the firm that I think we prefer to do business with. Obviously, we'll get other bids, but, the tax maps that we have were last done in 2016, I think, so they're quite a few years out of date. Bringing the physical tax maps up to date would be about $8,000. But since then, the state has created this database with parcel mapping that integrates the tax mapping with grand list information. And towns that are supposed to be updating that, helping to update that database. The state pulls information from various places. So, for example, all the surveyors are supposed to if they do a new survey, a subdivision survey, they're supposed to upload that to a database, and then the state takes that and edits their database based on that. And when they pull grand list information from us, but there's quite a few errors or there's just missing information in the town of Sheldon information that's in that database that needs to be brought up to date as well. So that is going to be a bit more expensive. So between updating the tax maps per se is about $8,000. Updating the the state's database is a little bit more than $12,000. So what I asked them to do, and they agreed to, is to combine those over 2 years. So the town would pay $10,750 this year and $10,750 next year, and everything would be updated as of next year. And then after that, we could hire this firm to keep the whole thing up to date every year for $1,000 or $1,500, about $1,500, I think, at least initially. So.
As parcels are being created or.
Correct, yeah. As subdivisions are made, things are sold,
Or
yeah,
parcels disappear.
right.
So if you buy, if you got 50 acres here, and you buy 50 acres next to it,
No, 100 acres.
you know, it's, cause they'll make it just one parcel. And the other way around is, you divide it up into 50 parcels. Yeah, all that good stuff. It's, they started that way back, 10 years ago. Steve found that out.
Yeah.
Steve's, well, I'll just sell it, sell a lot to my son. He had to survey the whole farm, to take that out.
It's surveyed 2.3 acres, you had to survey.
Had to survey the whole parcel, and then survey it and to sell the lot, you had to survey the whole farm. Some folks down in Montpelier helping him. He was mad that week. The whole week. I was mad, come in here sputtering, oh man. I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bring that up.
Yeah.
But you can see where it led to it. It's all about those, the parcels. Of course, when we did that tax map, we found some. Homer had 50, I forgot how many acres up there he had. The town wasn't, they didn't know he had it.
He was happy that week too.
Yeah. He thought it was funny. And boss, whatever. And I'm sure when they did that throughout the state, they kept finding these little pockets here and there. And that's why they want to survey all these parcels so that you can get it more and more accurate.
I think the other things I know that have been updated, the Franklin County tax, we got that number. So that's,
Yeah.
that's correct. Before I just had an estimate. Correct now.
So your budget done, more or less?
More or less.
I
Did the
think so.
numbers match? It's a question that we're gonna get.
All it's adjusting, tell me, you just gotta have the numbers.
So-
It'll be addressed.
Last year's budget came up with 2,014,000. 2,014,123. This year's budget looks like 1,801,627. The biggest reason is that money
From the hydro.
on the hydro, which, like Kim says, it was in our budget, but the state was funding most of that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the budget number looks better.
Well, no, but what was the number to be raised as from taxes?
Well, that's where I'm getting at. This
That's where you're getting to?
This total tax basis last year was 1,392,604. This year's number looks like 1,458,000. So we're looking at 5892 is 66,000 more than last year.
What last year?
392,604. This year's 1,458,631.
60,000.
60,000.
What's the percentage here? What does that mean?
Under 5%.
Could be 2%.
So the total budget number is actually smaller, but yeah. But she doesn't have, cause see, you got
It's 4.7.
total budget,
4.75%.
the revenue,
That's not bad.
the highway payment,
4%.
the
0.75.
Is that what it is?
the education
4%.
fund
4.7.
received 269, yeah, so that was, yeah, okay.
It's about what everything else is.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you go down through,
That's not counting. It's all
right. Looking at, general expenses, see, that went from 462 to 203, and that was that 269 tax bill expense. And that should have been, so that went up a little bit. Municipal office expense went up $1,000. Got clerk and treasurer, that went down a couple $1,000. Town administrator went down $7,000. Listers went up 9,000, almost 10,000. Animal control went up a couple hundred. Fire department went up 7,000. Public safety went up 3,000. I mean, I guess if we want to cut, we could cut some there. Can't cut the ambulance service, can't cut dispatching, but we could cut the.
You could, yep.
We could cut the sheriff's budget if we wanted to. I mean, if we thought we wanted a better number there. Delinquent tax collector stayed the same. Library. What did I do with my pages all screwed up? Library went up,
What's the
$1,600. Auditors went up, $3,000. Parks and Rec went down,
grand?
almost $20,000. I don't know.
We don't have grand listed.
But that's because we're absorbing some of that.
Right.
Last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
Highway
this
budget.
year, this year's grand
That's
list.
not really
How much is it?
Dues.
Yeah.
Dues
Oh,
went down, or stayed the same.
give me a minute, I can get you that.
Well, I mean, you know,
Yep.
you put the budget up, if the grand list is,
Appropriations
depending on how much the
went
grand
down
list is,
3,000.
that'll affect what the tax rate, you know, you don't, you know, if you do
That's
that
what
budget.
Highway went up 20, almost 30,000. Yeah, more,
Health
30,
insurance.
32,000.
Health insurance was a big one.
Health insurance is a big one.
Yeah, it went from 63 to 80.
The grand list, depending on how much the grand list went up. From one end of the day.
Road maintenance went up, actually went down $6,000. Highway equipment went up 4,000. Garage expense went, almost doubled. How come highway garage expense went so high?
The garage expense, we put some money for the garage doors.
I thought we had some in there last year for doors, or that was the year before.
We put garage doors and also, I think, that includes a computer for
I was
some.
gonna say computer,
Yeah.
garage doors.
Oh, building, yeah, building repairs was $15,000.
We talked about at one point creating a fund for projects.
A building fund specifically, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's gonna have
I mean, not just there, but in general. For all.
to, yeah. So I don't know, there's no big things that jump out. A little bit here, a little bit there, I guess. I don't know, we could cut here and there if you want.
I don't think we need to cut here and there, and we're not talking a huge amount of.
No, but then, you know, it all depends on what the, like you said, your grand list, add up, and
Yeah, I mean,
how that number affect, you know, how that number goes into the grand list and give you the tax rate, what's the what? What was the tax rate last year? I can't remember.
1.5 something, I think. You get your
Tax rate
rates
is
from when you.
In the forties, it wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not putting water on right tonight. I went to the morning.
You do the budget, and then you're gonna, but in the ultimate, in the end, it's gonna be, what is it?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was wrong. Your proposed municipal tax rate you agreed to this year was 52.5229, which I think was a penny higher than the year before.
52?
Yeah.
It was 51 point.
Yeah. And
5123, 23.
I don't have the grand list amount at that time, but or I didn't write it in the budget, but it was.
It's in that book, right? It's in the town report here.
Well, yeah, that was year before.
23 grand less.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think I've
Well,
ever-
no, we're gonna be working on 24 years.
Right here.
I think.
I never went down last year.
Well, I can tell you what it is.
What's the grand list today? You know,
Today,
It's just the last
well,
10 years or 4 years.
I'm looking at Justin's book right now.
24.
It's one. I mean, yeah, that one dropped way down, but that was because of the year before. There was so
Let's
much.
see. Right down here, let's see, let's see.
Yeah, because
Municipal grand list.
Is right at, I mean, as of the current edit that's in Justin's book here is 2,922,835.
2 million what?
900?
922,835.
$300,000 more.
300,000 higher than last year.
Okay.
I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, this is the working grand list right now that's included stuff since August or whatever.
Yeah.
So just. Yeah, I think in general it's gonna go up, the only thing.
I think your grand list went up more or less about the same as your. Somewhere around it.
Alright.
You're gonna approve all that, huh? That's what you're gonna run with?
Thoughts? Said thoughts?
That's what you're gonna print, that's what you're gonna work with on town meeting day. And we'll figure out what our tax, if people, have an answer as to what that might equate to their tax rate. 'Cause that's what people, if there's a question there, we'll have an estimated tax
Yes.
rate. percentages here. Take care of all that. Like you're gonna get numbers on that shed. I might get voted down, might just be stuck with the old one.
Alright,
Sounds good.
take a motion to accept this budget.
Sure.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
She's not close enough, buddy.
So, on the salt shed article, do you wanna
Seth will get.
put a funny number there, or I'm just trying
So
to.
I'll get your numbers tomorrow.
Right.
You'll send it out to all of us.
Number and then.
Okay.
Do not exceed or an actual.
I will get you a do not exceed.
Do not exceed number and.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you'll be able to send it out to everyone and
Yep.
then
okay.
Where was that one? The warning in here?
Oh, here, I've got it, here, if you want to look at it there.
I just got it.
Yeah. In case anybody else wanted to look at it.
no, yeah.
What was that we need to approve on the Historic Society building?
Oh, yes, so, there, let's see if it's, it should be right on the side here. So, this is the document they sent. It's got a bunch of pictures and, history of the building, and, oh yeah, they got a whole presentation in here. And it also includes a copy of the easement, which you already know what is in that,
How
so.
come there's,
Oh, yeah.
question here, how come there's no article in here, to borrow money anticipating taxes? Is that out the window now or what?
VLCT says that you have that power inherently, you don't need to ask the voters for it.
Really?
Yeah, you
I
have.
thought we kept it.
Right.
Right. I think you have the authority to borrow as much as 80 or 90% of the either the grand list or of the previous budget too. So yeah, it used to be warned every year, I know, but it wasn't warned last year, so I didn't put it in this year. Yeah.
Okay.
But
We got that one by you last year.
their advice, VLCT's advice is that you don't need the authority to do, you don't need voter approval to do something you already have statutory. So, on this again, basically it's the baseline documentation, which basically just says what's the condition of the building today, so that at the end of this 5 years or during the 5 years, they'll be able to see if it's been altered in any way. Since this is a historic preservation thing, if this suddenly has the Space Needle coming out of it, they'll know because they have a document or whatever. So,
Space.
yeah, right, or whatever you want to say. So, basically, this is just a certify that I assume it would be Steve, duly authorized agent of the town of Sheldon, and I, Ben Doyle, who's the head of the Preservation Trust, do accept and acknowledge the following document, including attached photographs, as being, to the best of our respective knowledge, an accurate description of the exterior and interior features of a building known as the H.H. Moore Store and located in the town of Sheldon. We affirm that we know of no activities ongoing at the building which are inconsistent with the covenants contained in the historic preservation easement conveyed by the owner to the Preservation Trust on, and the date is on there, and recorded in the town and the volume and page of the town of Sheldon records. So,
No more,
yeah.
no more. So Harold had that, and that's what they did down there, they were down there playing pool before Junior moved in there. Years ago. Yeah.
Sign away. You need a motion?
I don't know that we necessarily needed a motion, as long as
Sounds like-
nobody's stopping it, it looks like to me, so.
No, we're all set.
So,
We'll let Steve sign that over.
Alright,
Make a motion to adjourn, Steve?
I think that's alright, cause this memorandum
Oh.
of understanding of the school property is
Yeah.
gonna be brought up at town meeting, right, before we're gonna sign it.
no, I think you sign the memorandum of understanding we should sign as just the understanding of what we're asking the voters to authorize conveying the property. According to this, so the memorandum of understanding is just between us and the school, this is the plan of what we wanna do. Or this is, between the town and the school, this is the plan of what we're gonna do. And then pursuant to that agreement, you're asking the voters to approve the conveyance of the property.
We're signing an MOU with them that the voters could say no.
Correct,
The
yeah,
MOU
yeah.
is pointless in 2
It
months.
says in there pursuant to this law, which includes that voters could say no to it. So I think they understand that you can't act.
Doesn't that seem a little unnecessary?
This is what our attorney proposed should happen. There should be a proposal from them. We should agree to the proposal, and that then we could choose to warn or not warn the question at town meeting.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
yeah,
You have to, either you warn it in town meeting,
which we have chosen.
and you chose to do.
Yeah.
Or you gotta publish it somewhere,
Right,
so that people know that you're doing that.
right,
And then, if they don't like it, they'd have to petition you.
Right.
But you couldn't do it.
No, yeah, I was talking about signing something that in 2 months could be
right.
irrelevant based on the vote. That's why I was like, that seemed.
Well, the warning reads, shall the voters authorize the select board to convey
Mm-hmm.
the 11.4 acre parcel on which the Sheldon Elementary School is located to the Northern Mountain Valley Union Unified School District as described in the memorandum of understanding between the town and school district.
Should we execute that at the MOU with them?
I think that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we need to,
Agree on it first. and
Yes.
then-
okay.
Yeah.
So where is it?
Oh, sorry, you just.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that's
probably in this class.
Oh. Yeah,
Should,
I can get you at some point there.
Okay, well, then that description will have to be in the town.
Correct, that was my plan, was to put it in the town report with, oh, here it is. Here you are, sorry.
alright. So this memorandum of understanding is entered into by and between the Northern Mountain Valley Unified Union School District and the town of Sheldon, Vermont regarding the lands and premises currently occupied and used by the district to educate students in the town. 1, the town of Sheldon shall, subject to requirements of 24 VSA 1061, quitclaim the approximately 11 acre property currently used by the school district in the town of Sheldon, reserving for itself A, the well house and water piping systems, including access to maintain the same, B, the sewer system, including access to maintain the same, C, emergency generator, including access to maintain the same, D, right to use the school building as an emergency shelter, and E, the use of school building for public meetings and or elections. And then 2, the town of Sheldon will make appropriate changes to the traffic signals on Four Farm Road to accommodate traffic reconfiguration as requested by the school district. 3, the Northern Mountain Valley Unified Union School District will assume responsibility for the maintenance of and provide general liability insurance for the school parcel, including recreation fields, accepting therefrom any property retained by the town of Sheldon. 4, the Northern Mountain Unified Union School District will assume all costs associated with the reconfiguration of traffic and parking for the school property, with the exception of the changes to the traffic signals on Poor Farm Road set forth in paragraph 2 above. 5, the Northern Mountain Valley Unified School District will ensure that the public retains access to the recreational fields when not used by the school. 6, this agreement does not preclude future collaboration between the town and school district regarding stewardship of the school, community forest, and recreation facilities. Dated at Enosburg Falls, Vermont, this day of January 2025. Well, and then the bottom's dated at Sheldon, Vermont.
What if the district gets, you know, they created this district here, what if it gets dissolved?
Consolidated again.
Or
Yeah.
dissolved? I mean,
Stop using Sheldon School and move everything.
I won't have to send my kids to school anymore?
no.
No.
Well,
If it's dissolved, it'll
No,
be
it
nothing.
would, no, it would just, no, the district, I mean, right now,
Consolidating.
they consolidated
Yeah, right.
these schools before we were Shelton School.
Alright, so in the event of
I don't
a
know.
change to the district's structure, this MOU would become,
I don't know.
so is that what I'm saying, like, you're looking for language in the MOU that would say like, in the event of a restructuring of the school.
But I would think if the MOU, I don't wanna say dissolved, became something different, that it would absorb the assets that are already obtained by it.
I just don't know what's gonna happen in the school business there, going forward, yeah. And I don't know what the wells got to do with anything, cause didn't that get capped? There's no well out there, the well's not. The well is, there's nothing there.
Well, there's a building and
The building's over there. Do we need that, or?
well, I don't know that we do, but it's just, it is,
I guess
it is a town asset. I don't know,
Yeah.
it's okay to do whatever they want.
I thought the well was capped, I thought I thought Chevalier went there and capped that well. I think so.
Or was that the one down by the old school there?
I don't
That
know.
one? No, I think we gave that one to the mill. Right?
As far as I know, the town still owns both of them, unless, I guess I could have.
I don't know, there may be water connections in that bunker there, that's in that vault that's in the ground there, I'm not sure. There were all them pressure tanks in there, that they need to access. That doesn't matter, leave that alone, that's fine.
Okay.
Alright,
You never know, you might need that water.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no, we won't need that one,
No.
it's just, don't open that can of worms up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
Well, the town could always get rid of that later, but, you know, if we wanted to.
Good, I just,
Or remove it and.
sometimes you sell property or convey property and you say, well,
we do like the railroad, it reverts back to the landowner.
yeah.
But this gets absorbed, this, and the state probably take it over. Yeah,
I'll make a motion to sign this.
alright, I get a second on
I'll second.
that? All in favor?
I,
Sounds like you're headed for county schools.
Alright, anything else on?
I think that was the last piece of your agenda.
Okay.
do the town report.
Yeah, it wasn't about the select board.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Take,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, we're closed for the evening.